Welcome to another episode of Unlocking the Mind Behind Make More, Work Less. Hi, my name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock their potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on Unlocking the Mind, we talk about another cognitive bias. And the reason why we do this is so that we're better able to understand how our minds work, so that we can better prepare ourselves or even prevent ourselves from falling into these cognitive biases. Now, to introduce our topic for today, let me ask you a few quick questions. The first question is, have you ever noticed that if you eat a whole bunch of these strawberries where they're, let's say, sweet, and they're all kind of mildly sweet, and all of a sudden you eat one strawberry that's absolutely sour, and then you eat another strawberry that's from the same batch of these ones, and you go, wow, this strawberry, wow, this one is absolutely the sweetest one of them all. Have you ever had that before? Or how about I ask you this question? If we look at these two gray squares, I'm going to ask you which one of these two gray squares is actually lighter or darker? And if you think this one's darker than this one, well, then that's because there's a cognitive bias, and that is the contrasting effect. And that is because both of these squares are actually the same shade of gray. Just like that very, very sweet strawberry that you had at the end is the same sweetness as all these other strawberries at the beginning. And that's because we had that contrasting effect. We had that one very sour strawberry that completely contrasted that other strawberry that I had that made this feel so much more sweeter. Just like here, we have this very, very dark background on top, on the back of this light square with this very, very light background on the same shade of gray, but they're actually the same shade of gray. So that is the contrasting effect, which basically is distorting your perception of something when compared to something else by enhancing the difference between them. And that's what we're all talking about today. So the contrasting effect. And it actually happens all the time. And we experience it all the time as well. For us humans, we are very, very easily able to just compare one thing over to the other. And most likely, we're going to compare something closest to what we recently experienced or recently felt or saw or seen or whatever it is, the most recent, and we're going to compare that first. Just like, for instance, recently I've been challenging a lot of my clients to enhance their brain powers. How can they absorb more information faster, at least 50% of the time? And my recommendation to them is to go out and change the way they listen to audiobooks, change the way they listen to podcasts and YouTube and all that kind of stuff by increasing the speed at which they listen to the audios. Now, a lot of times I go, okay, first of all, let's test it out at 1.5 times the speed. And right away they go, wow, that's way too fast. I can't do that. I can't listen to it. It's going way too fast. So then what I do is I bump it up to 2.5 times the speed, and it completely comes out almost like gibberish. And really, they can't follow that anymore. And I bring it back down at 1.5 times the speed. And all of a sudden, they go, wow, this is a lot slower. I can listen to 1.5 now. So it's that contrasting effect between the 2.5 times the speed all the way back down to 1.5. And the funny thing is, if I take that speed down to 1, they'll go, wow, that's way too slow. So again, that's the contrasting effect that allows you to actually test your abilities to actually listen to stuff faster or read stuff faster. And that's what I've been challenging a lot of my clients to be doing today. Now, the other thing is when it comes to, it actually has an effect when we do dating as well, especially when it comes to speed dating. You see one individual, you meet that person, and right away you meet the next individual. You're constantly comparing the new person with the person right before. This person's not as good looking, or this person is as good looking, or this person's not as smart, or this person's not as interesting. You're always comparing that person to the most recent person that you saw. So again, the contrasting effect. Now, this can also have an effect on us when we're buying real estate or looking at products, and especially in real estate. Let's say, for instance, if you went to a realtor, and the realtor is going to be showing you around different houses, and the realtor shows you a property that is very, very very, very beaten down and needs a lot of work. And it shows you a price tag of $400,000. And you go, well, this is how much this is. And then the second house they show you is this house that's going to be a lot nicer and does not need a lot of fix up. And the price tag is $350,000. You can go, wow, in comparison, I'm going to buy this house because there's not a lot of work and it's even cheaper. But the fact is that house may or may not actually be worth $350,000. It's just that the real estate agent showed you a previous house that's in worse condition than this one with a higher price tag. So that's how the contrasting effect could actually hinder us in making certain decisions. So we need to really think about separating ourselves from what we're actually looking at and what we're actually comparing to before we make a big decision, and whether or not that decision is going to be affected by that contrasting effect of another thing that we saw. And the thing is, when it comes down to how do we use it for advantage? So for instance, why do you think there's a lot of advertising and a lot of buy now buttons online where it's a bright red button on a white surface? Well, that's because the contrast between the red button and the white background makes you go, oh, I want to press that button. And that's how you can use it for your advantage as well. If you're planning on doing some sales online, make sure that you make those buy now buttons a lot more contrasting from the background and a lot more standoutish so that it picks up the people's attention to click on that button. The other one is product placement. If you were to place your product beside another product that's very, very similar, but your product is actually cheaper and the other product is a lot more expensive, then it might be advantageous for you for other people to pick your product over the other product because of how close they actually are, but yours is actually cheaper or of better quality or whatever it is that you are contrasting. And the other thing is just comparing it to something worse. So for instance, you put a less superior product right beside yours and it showcases that how much better your product is compared to something else. Now the key is there's three main keys, and that is with high relevancy, high strong connection, and also a large difference. So if you're comparing one thing to another and they're very, very relatable, and there's a very, very strong connection, and the one thing that you really want to showcase to give yourself that advantage is a very, very large difference, then that is how you can make the contrasting effect work for you the best. But again, because you know how the effect works, you now have to think about how it's working against you. And when you're looking at different products, when you're talking to other people, how are you taking yourself out of the current circumstance and seeing it from a third person's point of view and go, am I being put into a cognitive bias and being affected by the contrasting effect? So that is the contrasting effect. If you like this episode, I hope you can go back and listen to some of the other episodes on unlocking the mind. And if you like this show, I highly recommend you checking out the Peak Potential Success Show, the Make More Mind Bites, or the Master Mind Bites that I also have. So please like, subscribe, and also share, and also comment and give feedback. I always love seeing those. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your potential. We'll see you later.